Hi, this is Maggie Sandnes. I am with Neena on Straight Talk. I'm so excited to have a chat with Neena. I was so lucky to have her on my podcast just a short while ago, and I am a life coach as well. And I am super excited to talk about my life and how I came to the conclusion that I wanted to make the world a better place as well, just as Neena is doing so beautifully. I am originally from Norway. I am currently in Norway, but I have spent many years in the US, and it has perfectly shaped me into who I am today. And I am thrilled to be able to be here today and share that story.
What's up, y'all? This is Neena Perez, and this is Straight Talk, no sugar added. Today, I have Maggie chilling with us today. Okay, she is a certified life coach. She's the host of Becoming Secure with Mag's Mindset. I was on her podcast. We had such a great conversation. She's a great host. You guys have to go and check that out. This is a platform where she openly documents her journey towards like emotional security. And a lot of you know that we are always trying to find a way to be more secure, right? So through her work, Maggie unpacks attachment styles. She heals emotional wounds. She explores the connection between faith and identity and intimacy, all these great things that I love to talk about on the show. Now, she speaks with honesty about shame and love and insecurity and resilience. And I absolutely love the way she does it. She is just herself, vulnerably showing up and empowering others. Now, Maggie is, she's grounded, she's relatable, she's all of these things. And I am so grateful. I asked her if she would be on my podcast. She goes, of course, even though I don't do a lot of podcasts, I'll be there. So I want you to help me welcome Maggie to the show. Welcome. How are you?
Thank you. I am doing so well. This is such a fabulous experience for me. I must say, this feels all very professional, but somehow I just know because of who you are that it's such a safe space. And I love how you show up. Thank you
Oh,
so much for
thank
having me.
you. Yeah, I'm glad you're here. Listen, that's how I felt on your show too. Like you are very just real and authentic and vulnerable and all of these beautiful things. And I don't there's only a certain small amount of people that I special invite to my show, right?
Oh,
Most of my people that come onto the show is because they've seen me, they know my show, they know my following, so then they want to be on the show, but there's very little people that I say, here, let me send you my special invite, right?
oh
And you
my
are one
gosh,
of
so
those.
cute.
So I'm so grateful to have you here. And I don't know how many episodes you've listened to, but the way I like to start the show is to know who is Maggie. So we're going to go there. Who is
Yes.
Maggie? Tell me, who are you, woman? Who are you?
Well, I am first and foremost born and raised in Norway. I lived a lot of years. I've spent most of my 20s in California, and it
Mm,
has shaped me tremendously into who I am. But I am a life coach and a podcaster and becoming an author. You know, my podcast name is Becoming Secure, and now I'm in the process of writing the book I Am Secure, which is a beautiful journey that I'm
I
currently
love
on.
that.
Yes, I'm having so much fun with it. I do this because I am a hopeless romantic. I have come to understand that my greatest purpose in life is to help and coach others, but especially when it comes to healing childhood wounds, understanding where your attachment comes from, and understanding yourself, get to know yourself better. That's something that I say every day in my podcast episodes. And the reason for it is because I have come to understand that what I want to be first and foremost is a wife and a mom. And
Mm.
I realized that on my journey of hopelessness in tremendously hurtful relationships. And it all shaped me into who I am today, of course. And I love to talk about it because I know that we are all vulnerable souls out there who just wants to be loved and understood and to show up in the world as authentically as we can. But
Yeah.
in a world that is currently shaping us so many ways with all of the attention that we have, like the all of the impact that we have all around us, it's so hard to find the right voices to listen to. And I am trying to be one of those voices of reasons who are actually helping you get closer to yourself and closer to your truth. And I
Mhm,
hope that I'll
mhm.
do a good job of communicating that today.
Yeah, I mean, that it's a beautiful journey, right? And I really want to dig into the why though, right? Because helping people be emotional secure and to show up vulnerably, and you talk about shame and all these things. So, was there a moment in your life when you're just like, I am just existing and I need to have there has to be more? Like what was the thing that transitioned you into life coaching and wanting to help other people?
So, okay, so to answer that question of the why, I probably have to go a little bit further behind, further
Yeah.
back than the life coaching itself, and that comes from the transition from Norway to America,
Okay.
because I grew up in Norway, which is a socialist country where we have this underlying rule in our society called the law of Jante. And for those who do not know what the law of Jante is, it's kind of a list of 10 rules, one of which is you're not to believe that you're anything special. You're not to believe that you're better than anyone else. You're not to believe that you can do anything special. And it is meant to humble and ground you. It is meant to kind of keep you at one with everyone. But I think what it did instead was humble you to the extent that you just don't do anything. And I always had this sense that I was meant for more. I was meant for
Right,
great,
right.
ambitious, and had big dreams, and somehow I felt as though as I was growing up in a community where that wasn't welcomed and more so frowned upon. So my meeting with the US when in 2020, well, I came to the US in 2018 for the first time, and I remember distinctly that my boyfriend at the time said that I'm going to lose you to the US, aren't I? And that was just because of this immense sense of belonging that I felt when I came there, because all of these big dreams that I had was all of a sudden so celebrated,
Yes.
rooted for, and I somehow found this grounding in knowing that, like, oh, I wasn't wrong for believing in myself and for wanting what I wanted and for having ambitions to dream bigger. I was not wrong for that. I was just in the wrong community at the time. And I don't want to say anything to bash on Norway or anything like that, not even my family, not even my friends at the time. It's just we're all a result of what we're ever been exposed to.
Yeah.
So we're all going to have this set of beliefs, and that's all rooted and grounded in us. And when nobody dares to question that, it's scary to go
Mhm.
with it. So for me, it all kind of started when I came to the US and I realized that, oh, I can do the things that I want to do,
Mhm.
and it
Mhm.
is okay. But the transition into life coaching kind of came more when I realized that, oh, I do an incredible job of putting words to my emotions. I do a good job of understanding the bigger picture. I'm very analytical. I really like to get into the depths of why things happen the way that they do. So this analytical skill of mine really helped me ask the right questions, and
Mhm.
not only for myself but for others. I really found this way to show up and ask questions that I think are triggering but are helpful and useful and actually getting you to the place where you want to get. So I never wanted to be a psychologist because there's such a framework around that where there's so
Yeah.
many rules. And when you're a life coach, you kind of have somewhat more of a freedom to do your own style of coaching, which I thought was exactly what I needed. I needed
Right.
a space to show up authentically. I needed a space where I got to share my own story with my clients without that being unprofessional, without being actually a part of why it works, because we all get down on the human level.
Right.
So that's where the life coaching came into play, and I got that in the and by the end of 2023, so fairly recently.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, so the podcast came as a result of that. Essentially, what I found is that I wanted to create a platform where I could show up authentically as myself, show up vulnerably, like vulnerable as myself, and create some credibility for my potential clients, for my current
Mhm.
clients,
Mhm.
anyone who could recognize that this is just a human being with a set of experiences who also knows and dares how to ask the right questions, because she can see the big pictures. She could see the big picture and also understand where it's coming from.
Yeah.
So it all started. It started with the American dream, and then it catapulted into finding a
Evolved.
platform.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, are you living in Norway now?
I am living in Norway now,
Okay,
which
so
is,
how is
yeah.
that working out for you, right? Like the fact that you are following your dream, the fact that you are coaching people, the fact that you are like really, because I know the dreams don't leave you, right? So I know you're still a dreamer and still wanting to accomplish all these things. I think that's a human nature thing too, to
Yeah.
just want to be able to accomplish and do these things. So
Hmm.
how is that working out for you now back in Norway?
The way that it's working out for me back in Norway now is that I'm no longer afraid of showing up authentically as myself. I am
Good.
no longer in that framework that I was afraid of. I am no longer scared of tapping into the things that scared me before.
That's
Because
great.
before, I would be shaped by judgment, I would be shaped by concern, or not even the fact that, like, people will kind of humble you or pull you down, not intentionally because they don't
Right, of
believe in
course.
you.
Hmm.
It's just that societally it hadn't come to a place of acceptance, and I was too vulnerable and shy or insecure to go against that and believe in it in that environment. I had to
Right,
go
right,
to the
right.
US and grow that confidence and understand that and get it deeply rooted in me and who I am. And when I was able to do that, I am also able to go home and show up differently. Mind you, I left when I was 21, and now I'm 29. So of course there's a lot of years that has gone by, a lot of
Yeah.
experience that has been rooted in me and shaped me, and therefore I'm able to show up differently today. So, but mind you, I've only been back for close to 2 months now,
Oh,
and
okay. So it's
I've
fairly recent.
fairly recent. And to
Mhm.
be honest with you, about a year and a half ago, I thought that I would never go back to Norway. I was
Right.
dead set on staying the rest of my life in the US because I would not dare to leave that sense of belonging that I so desperately sought out and experienced in the US. And somehow half a year ago, God called to me and was like, it's time to go home. And I have kind of yet to see exactly what it is that is bringing me home, but I'm here
Mhm.
now. I'm surrendering. I'm trusting God, and I'm here in the midst. Well, I'm in the beginning of the process, really, and I know that any choice that you make is never it's never so set in stone that I could never go back to the U.S. if I wanted
Of
to.
course.
But I
Right.
know that for the time being, I'm meant to be here, and I'm super excited to see what is unfolding. I really am.
That's awesome. Do you think that, being that that mentality of is socialism still very prevalent there? Is that something that's still like the way people live? And the only reason I'm asking is because I'm wondering how your free mind, right? And how you are chasing your dreams and your passions falls in line with that. Like how will they be able to accept that or see you as an outlier?
That is a good question. I do believe that there are more and more of it today. I think that some part of it too was probably my scarcity mindset or
Mm,
me
that's a
being
good point.
scared. I don't
Mhm.
necessarily believe that if I really had pushed through and really gone for it back then, I just don't think I had the resilience and discipline to do
Mhm.
it in that
Mhm.
environment. I just really needed to put myself up for success and be in an environment that would build me up as opposed to pull me down. What my surroundings now, me being my family and my friends that I do have here, have kind of experienced time and time again is that whenever I do something, I follow through. Whatever dream I begin, whatever thing I say that I'm going to do, I do it. There's no project that I begin that I don't follow through on. So now we have this track record of evidence. There's
Right,
this evidence
right,
that I will.
right.
So even now, in like writing this book that I'm currently writing, I told my parents, hey, I will apply for a job here and there, but this is where I will prioritize my time. I will be working on this book. This is my passion project, and this is where God wants me to focus my energy right now.
I love that.
So my mom knows that, like I just said, there's nothing that I start that I don't finish. So she trusts me as well. She knows that I will follow through. And
Yeah.
I think that at this point they know I'm so driven and go getter and very have this ability to follow through. So they trust me at this point, but most importantly, I trust myself at this point.
Yeah, yeah. Also, it's not a bad thing when you have your baby back home, so it's probably a good thing for them.
Yes, and that's kind of a funny side note because my brother. So I have two older brothers. We're three, and my the the middle child, my middle brother, I'm the youngest. He also moved out of the country for 10 years, or he was at least
Wow.
away from home for 10 years. And both of us just moved home. So
Oh my
both of
gosh.
us are living in that childhood home that we grew up in
Oh, I
with
love
our
that.
parents and his wife as well. And I will tell you, we are having such a phenomenal time together. It is
Yeah.
such a fun co-living experience. I thought, like, there is no way I would have ever imagined a year ago that this was possible. I
And
really could not
it's
see
one of
that.
it's one of those things that it's gonna end, right? You guys are gonna go get your own homes and go, do your own thing and all of that. And
Yeah,
it's one of those things, one of those times in life where you really need to sit and enjoy it because
yeah,
it's gonna come to an end, right? I mean, you guys are grown up already, and mom and dad are probably thinking, I hope they never leave, but you have to at some point. So it's very interesting too. I wanted to talk to you about the attachment styles, right? Because
yeah,
I was reading about how you are, really, going after, teaching us or really talking about how attachment styles play a huge role,
yeah.
right? And
It
so
does.
I'd love you to kind of talk to us a little bit, first of all, about attachment styles, right? Like,
Hmm.
what is that? And how do we help someone recognize and start to heal from their patterns?
That's a good question. So, starting on what attachment theory is essentially, so I am no professional in all of this. I'm just very enthusiastic and curious about this. I've read theories on it. I've read books about
Right.
it, and I was first drawn in when I read the book Attached, which taught me about attachment styles. And essentially, what it is communicating is that based on how our parents raised us, or how we were raised, whoever were our caretakers when we grew up, and how we witnessed love growing up, that is all going to shape and form how we show up in dating when we get to that point in our lives. And if you had one or more caretakers who were either resistant or not so involved, someone who didn't show as much love or compassion, didn't necessarily show up in a way that a child needs to be loved, like in my own experience,
Mm,
I didn't have I had my parents are still married, they're still living together, and I think that is beautiful in terms of how our family dynamic is. However, my dad has been depressed a lot in my life, meaning that there was a way in which he never treated me as a princess that I kind of needed to be. I never had that male character in my life that would show me how you're supposed to be treated by a man, like how you're supposed to show up for yourself, like how to develop
right,
self-respect and
right. That's
self-love and
important. Mhm,
self-compassion. Yeah, so I
mhm.
didn't have any of that, meaning that I was subconsciously seeking all of this validation in outside factors that was very detrimental to myself. You talked introductory about how I talk about shame. I have a lot of stories tied to shame and how I would completely bury myself and lose myself in other people because I really desperately sought out validation from
Yeah,
others. Yeah.
yeah.
And I think that many ways in which we can recognize it in ourselves, like where we fall on the spectrum, is that, well, okay, so let me backtrack a little bit when it comes to the spectrum. The way that I like to explain it is if you look at a bell curve, you have a securely attached person on the top of that bell curve, and then you have the on each far side of the bell curve, you have an anxious and an avoidant attached. But if you look at it from like a bell curve perspective, these are also a frequency. So meaning that the
Mm,
anxious and the avoidant tend to attract each other because they're operating on the same frequency. The wound is the same, but it's manifesting differently, meaning that you often find yourself in a push and pull relationship when you are either
hmm,
anxiously or avoidantly attached.
that's
And what that
interesting.
might look like is that a person who is desperately seeking connection because they're terrified of abandonment, they will cling on and latch on even harder and kind of seek this desperation. It's almost as if whenever there's a threat of losing this person that you are so attached to, you cling on even harder. Whereas the avoidant will have the opposite effect. They will push you away even further. And if you're finding yourself in a relationship where you feel like they're distancing themselves even more, and when they do that, you latch on even more, then you're probably finding yourself in a push and pull dynamic. And what this book Attached taught me is
Hmm.
how, if you are either or role, you can navigate how to first and foremost show up for yourself, so that you know how to navigate your own attachment first and foremost,
Hmm. Hmm.
because then you can recognize your own fault and where it's coming from, and where you can then show up differently, because it is important to recognize that. And for
Yeah.
me, Becoming Secure, the podcast, was about recognizing how I could go from being anxiously attached to an individual to becoming securely attached to an individual. And what it means to be securely attached is essentially that you grew up in a very stable home where parents were loving and caring and compassionate and had no problem showing love, but also stood up for themselves. There's no insecurity in the sense that it'll be this driving force that is detrimental. Meaning that if you're dating someone, you dare to fall in love. That's not scary. You're opening yourself up for the experience of dating. But however, if your needs are not met in this dynamic, you're also not afraid to say, you know what, this is not for
Mm.
me.
Hmm.
Thank you,
Hmm.
goodbye. So,
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
there's essentially this place for me. It was important to be able to get to that place where I am not losing myself to keep another. And what I mean by that
So
is,
good.
when I was dating one of my exes, when I was in the worst of the push and pull dynamic, I knew I wanted to get married. And deep down, I also knew that I wanted to be a mom. But there was a time when I was reconsidering having children. And there
Mm.
was a time when I thought that, okay, maybe I don't have to get married as long as we can find a way to have a happy relationship. And all of that came from a place of, I was way more afraid of sitting in the discomfort and the fear of being alone and standing up for myself than to lose this person. So
Wow.
I would rather be unhappy, kind of happy time to time, in a relationship that didn't meet all of my needs,
Right.
than to just sit in the discomfort of being alone and finding myself and trusting that God had someone better for me. And
Mm.
not in the sense that this person was bad in any way, shape, or form, just not for me.
Right. Right. Right.
So
Right.
what I really mean to emphasize on when it comes to any of these attachments is that there's nothing wrong with you. What you're lacking is self awareness. What you're lacking is understanding yourself and where you fall on this spectrum.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
also, you have to have this determined energy that you also want to do something about it. So for me, being more on the anxious side, I have to recognize what my triggers are, and and what I can do to navigate my emotions when I get triggered. And also, I need a partner who can meet me on it, and also not retreat every time it gets uncomfortable. They meet me
Hmm.
and actually
Hmm.
have a conversation where they're trying to understand me better and where I'm coming from. But this is also going both ways. There has to be two people choosing to go down this path together, because otherwise, the push and pull will never find peace.
That's true, right? And I think a
Mm-hmm.
lot of us, I know for me, younger as well, like there was a lot of that push and pull. There was a lot of that. And I think that happens to all of us as we're dating and navigating that life. And like, what does that look like?
Mm-hmm.
And what is it that I'm actually looking for and seeking for, right? And to think that, it's great that you had that self awareness, because how sad would it have been if that's really what you want in life and decided, I'd rather be miserable. It's okay. I'll just stick with this, right?
Well, it got to a really dark place, I must
I'm
say, and
sure.
and
I'm sure.
it also wasn't so clear. I do remember when this particular person introduced me to attachment theory for the first time. I remember he just mentioned it like in passing. My sister said something about attachment theory. Maybe you should read up on it. And then I would read on the three different types, like the secure, avoidant, and the secure, avoidant, and the anxious. And when I read about the secure, I was like, oh wow, this seems great. This is where I want to be and where I think I am capable of being. And that's what I said at the time, but have found recently, of course, that that was wishful thinking. That was not true at all. I was completely capable of latching on to someone desperately. I
Mm.
just saw that that was an ideal,
Right,
and
right,
that's where
right.
I wanted to be. And that's kind of where it all started. But the reason why it would never work out with this person and I is because I was willing to put in all of the work. I was willing to go there. But I remember when it dawned on me that he's never going to do the same things. He's not ever going to want that what I want. He's not going to be willing to put in the work that it requires for the two of us to meet each other at a secure place. And there was a time when I thought that I was not going to be able to get through it. I wasn't going to be able to get over it. And I
Right,
was
right.
so unhappy. I was so sad. I remember sitting in, it was a beautiful summer day. It was so hot. And I was even wearing this beautiful sundress. And I was sitting by this golf course, and I was sobbing. I was so sad. And I felt so this incredible sense of sadness because I kept telling myself, I'm not strong enough to get out of this. I can't get out of
Mm,
this. I'm not able to do this. I cannot handle what it requires of me to leave this relationship because at this point
wow.
I'm so addicted to him, and the idea of what if. And
What
I
if,
remember
yeah.
thinking that if there's a golf ball that accidentally hits my head and kills me right now, that would be okay. And I called my mom on the phone and I asked her
Oh
to
my
just,
gosh.
I know it's so sad. It's so sad.
It's so
And
sad,
then
but
it's
I
outrageous.
totally understand that.
Dude,
I just
it's
totally get it.
outrageous. I called my mom on the phone and I was just, can you just please let me go? Would it be okay if you just let me go? And of course, she was never going to do that. I'm laughing at it now, but of course, there was a time where this was an incredibly
Yeah.
dark place in
Yeah.
our lives.
Yeah, it's the golf
But
ball thing that made me laugh, not the
yeah,
not
no,
the
I know,
scenario, but
no offense taken. I mean, it is silly when you look at it from, because the thing is, like, it's just a heartbreak, but we
yeah.
already have history in my family of one of my like third cousins. She committed suicide at 16 when she had her heart
Oh.
broken, and so I always had this image of her mom in
Oh.
my head when that happened, and when we were at their funeral and they were talking, and she was just trying to hold herself together, trying to make sense of it all. And I was just like, there's no way I can ever do this to my mom. I cannot do that to my mom. So I
Yeah.
always had that vision in my head that I was never going to actually do something so obscene as committing suicide for something seemingly silly. It is really painful when
It
you're in
is.
the midst of it. It
No, it
is
is.
really,
Mhm.
really, really terrible, which is also why I believe it's so important to talk about, because love and heartbreak is such a terrible, terrible experience to those who lack self awareness and emotional regulation.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
have been one of those people who seriously lacked emotional regulation. And it was very, very tough to go in, to sit in that journey and to walk that path and figure out how to become a secure person. But I do feel like I have the tools locked in now, and I'm here and I'm happier than I've ever been, mostly because I feel so peaceful in myself and who I
Mm.
am. But that took time, it took years, and it took determination and a shit ton of faith.
Yeah, 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 it does, right? And
Yeah.
you talk, that's what you're really talking about here too. You're talking about that faith, that self-awareness, that identity of who you are, the intimacy that happens, right? When you are in love with someone or in family relationships or dynamics. So it just feels like these three areas like really influence that emotional security that you're talking about, right? So you're talking about faith, your identity, your intimacy, like all of those things really create this world that we live in, honestly. And you're right. I think most of us do not have emotional regulation. We don't know how to do that. I know for me, it was like, shut up or I'll give you something to cry about. It was never like, why are you crying? Why are you hurting? What is happening right now? Right? That never happened. Even when I was being molested by my stepfather and I told my mom, she told me to shut up and stop lying, right? So you immediately go through this, like, first of all, numbness, like my world shattered, but then you start to go, I can't talk about this. Like I can't tell anybody. Like I'm just going to eat my pain away. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? A lot of people don't have the tools. That's just real. They
Yeah.
don't, right?
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of work. I know faith to you is a big component. Faith to me is also a huge component,
Mhm.
right? So with faith, identity, intimacy, and all of that, I just like, how do these three areas start to shift you or influence your emotional security, because that's what you're helping people with, right? That
Mhm.
emotional stability, that attachment, the security that they can be who they are. Do you
Mhm.
put these things in your coaching when it comes to like a faith, like a faith component, an identity and self-awareness component? Do you put that in your coaching?
That is interesting. I don't do so necessarily intentionally, but
Right.
I do
You just
believe
show
that
up like you.
I do
I get
show
it.
up because I have to look at the individual that is in front of me and see where are they coming from, because not every household would have grown up with scripture, for instance. Not every household would have
Yeah.
grown up with prayer and understanding the impact that prayer has. So to then talk about God and the impact that God has had in my life to someone who is completely unaware of that, what that even means, would be unwise. But I still want to meet that person. So the way that I try to show up more so today is just to implement teachings like what the Bible will say, for instance. There's so much comfort in the word. And what I have also come to realize over the
Yeah.
years, the more I read, because I have also not practiced religion my entire life, it just came by in the midst of all of these desperate times that I was in. I would seek out prayer because I had a memory of being a child and my mom would pray with me on the bedside. So
Right.
it was a core memory that reminded me that, hey, if it's painful, you can pray. And I found a lot of comfort in praying because I could sense this presence so clearly. I wasn't alone. It was clear that I was being supported. So I had that core memory that helped me move on. And but when it comes to show up in coaching, I just try to understand and see the person and understand what their true wound is. Like, what is it that is
Mhm.
hurting,
Mhm.
and where is it coming from, and what belief has it put in you that is stopping you from getting to where you want to be. My
Mhm.
mission is to identify and remove roadblocks from the path of my clients for their personal success. What is it
Right.
that they are putting in their own road
Yeah.
that is stopping them from getting over the hump? So once you can identify what the roadblock is, it's really easy to move on from there. But there might be many blocks, and that's okay. I
Yeah.
had, I certainly had, and have probably many roadblocks, but not being
Yeah.
so afraid of walking the walk is probably what is key. And
Yeah.
one of the things that I think I want to lead with even more is honesty. And I don't mean just honesty in terms of, are you being truthful to others? I mean honesty. Are you being truthful to yourself about who you really are? What
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
really
Mhm.
have done? Are
There's
you?
freedom in that. There is so
Yes.
much freedom in
Yeah.
that, right? So talk to me a little bit about your coaching. Like, do you work with both men and women? Do you work with women? How long is your coaching practice? Like, give me a little bit about what you're, how long or what you're doing with your clients.
So, truth be told, I do. So, at this moment, I don't have any paid clients. And the reason for that is because I am kind of building it from ground up, in the sense that I am, like I said, trying to create this. Oh, no, I'm losing the word again. I was saying it earlier. And I remember I was talking to you last time and I was trying credibility. That's the word. Trying to become credible for my clients just by telling my own story. But
Yeah.
the way in which I will say that it truthfully, the way that I'm using my coaching in the most visible way now is in all of the relationships that I'm showing up in. I have had the privilege of living with a lot of different people, and I am so grateful that in all of these environments, when I run into people, wherever it is, honestly, if it's on flights when I was traveling for work, or if I'm sitting on the porch outside of my house talking to a neighbor, they are always opening up to me because I'm good at creating an environment where people dare to talk
They
to me
feel
and open up.
safe.
They feel
Yeah.
really safe. And
Yeah.
so my coaching kind of shows up in conversation. I really just want people to be able to talk about what it is that they're going through. And I've been blessed and privileged to meet so many different men who dare to be vulnerable with me. And that is one of the things that I've been most excited about, is how many men dare to talk to me about their
That's
feelings
awesome
and their
because a lot of
struggles.
times they
Yeah,
don't talk. So, all right.
exactly.
So, for someone who's listening right now and
Mhm.
feels disconnected,
Yeah.
maybe they feel wounded, maybe they feel unsure, they don't
Mhm.
know who they are, right? What do
Yeah.
you think is like the first step that you would talk to someone about for them to just start to become a bit more secure?
I think just in conversation, what I mostly find is that they will reveal themselves pretty quickly.
Mhm.
It comes out in the words that they're using, the way that they're phrasing the things that they're talking about, and that's how and what they're talking about. Because what people tend to talk about is often also what they're what's on their mind, or what
Yeah.
they're not
What they're
talking
going
about.
through. Yeah.
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 So I try to ask as many questions as possible, but if there's someone who would specifically want to come and talk to me and to find themselves in more of a secure place, I think I would start by recognizing where you're at right now in, for instance, a relationship, if that's what you're trying to accomplish, like a commitment with someone else, but you're struggling to actually getting to that level of committing, or struggling to find someone who is willing to commit. I would want you to truly ask yourself, like, where and when is it stopping right now?
Yeah. Yeah.
And very often, if there's a, okay, I'm not going to draw everyone under the same, but I would say typically women tend to fall a little bit more on the anxious side, and men tend to fall a little bit more on the avoidance side. And I don't necessarily know exactly why that is, but if you are a woman finding yourself latching really on to the outcome being the specific person more than the
Mm,
outcome
mm,
being the
mm.
relationship that you want, then stop to ask yourself, is it the person or is it the thing that you want? What I found to be incredibly helpful was when I really honed in on the fact that, like, hey, I want a relationship that is honest. I want a relationship that is authentic, in the sense that it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be able to talk things through.
Yeah.
You don't. I
Yeah.
think the way I wanted to, I really wanted to be able to show up as myself, and not fall into like, oh, you're so clingy, or something like that. I really wanted a relationship where I could be myself, and that was okay. But I also wanted to, I needed to be honest with myself about the fact that I wanted romance and flowers and date
Right.
nights,
Right.
and not selling myself short because that was too much to ask in this day and age, or not so typical or okay even. And I really wanted to hone in on the fact that I want people to be honest with themselves about what they truly want. Like, put
Yes.
this list down of, like,
Yes.
what is it that you want from a relationship? What is
Right.
important to
With
you? What
no
do you want?
shame, with
No
no
shame.
shame. Because
No
we
shame.
always judge, don't we? We judge
Yes.
ourselves.
And
Like,
others.
okay, I'm a woman. I want to have children. Oh, is that what you want to do? And you could be doing so much more. You're like that kind of stuff. Like we judge ourselves
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
know and don't even know what we really, really want.
Yeah.
You know, I
It's
thought I,
true.
I thought I wanted tons of money. I wanted a six figure. I wanted this. I wanted that. I got all of it. And then I was like, oh, that's not even
Same.
what I want.
That's
Yeah, it's
why I moved to Norway. That's why I moved to Norway. I was already doing the six figures and traveling every week and doing
yeah,
the hustle and doing the grind. And like, I was on it, but I was unhappy.
yeah,
All the
yeah,
relationships around me were deterred, like, was just going down on a
yeah.
downward hill. And going back to that, like, list of what you want, like, here are some things that I put on that list. Like, for instance, I love Valentine's Day. I think Valentine's Day is beautiful. It celebrates love and all of these things. I needed to be honest with myself about that, because I had been dating men that was like, Valentine's Day is just a
Yeah, yeah, that was
corporate
creative,
holiday.
blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah,
And
yeah.
oh my gosh, and I needed to be honest about the fact that I want flowers. Yeah, I want flowers. I want romance. I want date nights. But I also I want someone who wants to understand a women's cycle, so that he knows that I'm not being unreasonable. I can just push through. My body is literally going through a hormonal phase, and I need someone who can sit down and
That's so
understand that
funny.
that's just how women biology is.
Right. Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah,
I
no,
love that.
but also like silly things like, oh, he needs to be able to watch football with me on Sundays, Yeah, no, and yeah, I just really needed to be honest with myself about who I am and what I appreciate. I also know that I love compliments. I need compliments. I need someone who can recognize that and see that
Right.
and want me. Like, when someone really could see how happy it made me when my love language was met, and really wanting to see that, like, I really want to see her be that happy. So
Yeah.
I put things like someone who understands my love language, someone who wants to pray with me, someone who wants what I want, someone who wants to build a family, who's
Yeah.
intentional about having a family, and someone who respects women and understands women, and someone who will love my family. And yeah,
You know,
it was a
though,
long list. Yeah.
when you do that, though, it gives you a lot of clarity on what you don't want, right? It
Yes.
like it shows you, yeah. So then when somebody comes with the flags, you see them a little bit better now,
Yeah.
because you already know what you do want, right? Which what you're talking about, I think is what everybody wants, kind of a beautiful, decent relationship where someone meets you where you are and you can meet them where they are. There's a mutual
Yeah.
respect and understanding and love. And, when we are just, shooting in the wind and hoping we hit something, that's where the trouble comes in, right? That's when
Yeah.
you don't know who you are and you don't know what you want. So you will take anything that comes. That's
Yeah.
dangerous. That's
Yeah.
a very dangerous place to be.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. And I love that you're doing that. And I love your honesty and your straightforwardness. The fact that you're like, I don't really have my clients right now. I am building up right now. And that is
Hmm.
I have so much respect for people like that. People who just tell the truth. This is where I'm at and this is where I'm going. Right.
Hmm.
So if somebody wants to connect with you and
Oh
find
yeah.
you online, listen to your podcast, give us that information because I want to make sure my audience knows where to reach out to you and listen to you.
Absolutely. So you can always email me at maxmindset@gmail.com. I also am on TikTok and Instagram on Max Mindset. I have a web page called maxmindset.com/coaching, which you can also contact me on. My podcast is Becoming Secure with Max Mindset, which you can listen to anywhere you listen to podcasts. And I would also want to emphasize on the fact that I am an incredible coach. And the fact that I have no clients today has absolutely nothing to do with my ability
Absolutely
to coach really well.
nothing. Absolutely.
Absolutely
No,
nothing.
really, absolutely nothing. I didn't have clients for a while either, right? And then I started to get clients and they were soaring. It has
Yeah.
nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
I just respect the honesty and the realness of what that is because a lot of coaches go through that season
Yeah.
of many clients and then no clients. This is what having your own business is. It's
Hmm.
always a cycle of things, right?
Yeah.
And I agree, Maggie. I mean, I think that just even talking to you on your podcast, I honor and respect your space and who you are. I think you show up really beautifully and authentically and truthful, and you can't ask for anything better, right? A coach is somebody who's going to be by your side helping you reach and accomplish the goals you are looking for. We are not there to give you the answer, we're not there to do it for you, but we
Mhm.
are there to guide you and be with you through the process.
Yeah.
That's a good coach,
Yeah.
So thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. On that note, what I really wanted to kind of add at the end there is that I am the type of coach who will want to see the progress, meaning that I
Yeah.
am I sometimes I can most certainly be someone you can show up to and vent to and talk about your things, but I will challenge you
Yeah.
to
That's
do
what you're
something about
supposed to
it.
do.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because I do find sometimes that a lot of people want to go to get help just to have someone to vent to and only show up when
Yeah.
it's
When
good
it's
or
an
when they need
issue.
to vent or yeah,
Hmm.
exactly, but when things are kind of rolling and going well, they don't
Yep.
want to continue to work. So I will say that if you are one of those who don't really want to do the work, then I will be a waste of time. But if you are someone who truly knows that you are willing to put in the work, you're willing to sit in the discomfort, that is looking yourself in the mirror and recognizing honestly who you are and what part you play in allowing all of this pain and hurtful things in your life, because very often we are in our own way. And if you are someone who dares to look at yourself and dare to recognize what part you play, then I am an excellent coach for that purpose, because I will help you get over the hurdle. I will identify your roadblocks, and we will get you to where you want to be together. And that is a promise.
And that is a promise, y'all. All right, Mag, thank you so much for being here and hanging out with me on Straight Talk. I know that my audience is going to get so much out of this, and I'm truly grateful, Maggie. Thank you. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much for
So
having me.
much
It's
fun.
such
So
an
much
honor.
fun. Oh, so fun. Guys, make sure that you follow Maggie. I'm going to put all of her information below. I don't want you to miss anything. So go ahead and follow her on all of her medias. And if you're somebody who is, like, damn, she spoke my language. She really talked about this relationship thing for real. That is me, right? Like I need to heal from some of these wounds. I need to explore, what does it mean to have, an honest and real connection? If you want somebody who is honest and truthful and shows up in this way, that's why I had Maggie on the show today. So make sure that you guys connect with her. I love you guys so much. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. You know the deal, y'all. All right. I will see you soon and on the next one. Bye.